con todos vosotros, pues dejamos la palabra a Verne, que le damos la bienvenida con un aplauso.
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me speak English. Much appreciated. I do know Copa de Vino Tinto, which is my survival Spanish from being around here. Really, I just want to share 3 ideas. And I'm an angel investor, invested in about a dozen different companies myself around the world. And so I just want to share some ideas of what we look at as investors. So the first, everyone around here is in love with the Cognier. And this whole image of, the ass. So our first really idea is that I look to invest in businesses that pass what my dear friend Brad Feld calls the 3-ass test. And so the first is the business really going after a big problem? I mean, something that's huge on the planet that needs to get solved. Not really interested in investing in anything that's kind of small. It might be a great idea, but if it's not going to scale globally, particularly in today's age, I'm at least not as interested in it. Number 2, it has to have what we call a kick-ass solution. And that is really something that's unique technologically, it's protected, there's IP there, and it is better than an invention. A lot of people have inventions. What we're really looking for is a 100% solution. And Jeffrey Moore, who's the great kind of marketing guru out of Silicon Valley, he was early involved in Genentech and Intel and all of those companies. That is the mistake he sees a lot of startups make, is they get about 80% of the solution and then they leave and go get distracted by something else. And so it was, in a way, Steve Jobs recognizing that there was no way that you would really sell iPods if you had not figured out iTunes. There's really no way that the iPhone or the iPad would really be weathering the storm against Samsung if they didn't have the App Store. And so it's unlikely that a hardware software company would have created those services, but they were absolutely necessary in order to really provide the customer the 100% solution that they're looking for. And then last, which probably is even first, is you need to have what we're going to call, in a fun way, a smart-ass team, but you've got to have a great team. And because at the end of the day, that's who you're going to invest in. So it can be a great product going after a big market, but if you don't have the right talent that you've pulled together, and the key is a team. Maybe last century was about the genius with 1,000 helpers, but a colleague of mine over at Harvard has really found in his research that the companies that grow further fastest really start with what he calls an intact team. It's a group of 3 or 4 people that worked together before, have worked together for many, many years, that when they decide to launch a venture, they already know how to fight without killing each other. They already understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. They understand how to work together, and they can split up the duties. So it's really hard to be a lone entrepreneur in the 21st century. So that's kind of my first idea. The second, so if it passed the 3 tests, huge problem it's going after. It's a 100% solution, and it's a great team. Now you're at least on the radar. Number 2, do they have the choke point of the industry locked up? One of the examples that I wrote about in my latest book, The Greatest Business Decisions, was soft soap. And because here's the problem. As entrepreneurs, we can come up with brilliant ideas, but big companies, Google, Microsoft, others, can just steal it. And all of our effort was for naught. So, soft soap. They're the ones who came up with the liquid soap idea. What's the big concern? That they develop a market and then Procter & Gamble comes along and steals the idea and they lose all of their opportunity. And so one of the smart things they did is they realized that the pump, that little spring pump that was in the top of the soft soap, they committed to buy up an entire year's supply of those pumps It was a very huge expense, but that's what they used their investment for. So that when they launched the product and Procter & Gamble decided, hey, this is a great idea, let's go crush them, Procter & Gamble could not find any of the spring-loaded pumps. And it gave soft soap an entire year runway to be able to develop the market and gain their leadership. And so I look for in companies that there's something within their product or their business that is proprietary, that they own, that they can own the piece of, that prevents the big competition from competing with them. By the way, I don't know for sure that this is where Apple got the idea, but when they launched the iPod, it was on their 25th birthday in 2001. They were still a small company, and it could have been easily copied by a bunch of other firms around the world. The reason it wasn't is they were smart enough to buy up an entire year's supply of that little mini hard drive that was proprietary to the iPod, and that gave Apple the time they needed to build up the marketplace. So, number 2, do you have a choke point as part of your business model, and are you controlling it? If not, it's too easy for you to be copied. Last thing we're looking for in the 21st century, and it's an idea that we really got from Mark Zuckerberg. You know, Mark is the youngest self-made billionaire in the history of the world through Facebook. And Mark has done in 8 years what other companies have taken 80 years to achieve. In fact, he's done things quicker than even Google, LinkedIn, Groupon, and others that are these high-tech wonders of the 21st century. And so what is the real key to Facebook's success? And the key is that they've built their business model on the crowd. I mean, we're here, Juan's got this new crowdfunding, site. But if you think about it, Facebook has 1 billion employees that they pay nothing. But that's the value of their business. And you're working for free every day to populate their model. What's the power of Booking.com? I was just up in Amsterdam. It's the fact that people all over the world provide feedback and ratings and the like. Amazon. The real power of Jeff Bezos' model is he has millions of us providing feedback on products and books that really make his site valuable. Wikipedia. 7 million volunteers keep that website up to date so that Encyclopedia Britannica shut down their printing operation last year in 2012. Now, what does that mean for the rest of us? So I'll tell you a quick story and then how we use it, and then let me wrap up. So a guy named Rob McCune buys a gold mine in Canada. And so he's got about 4 terabytes of geological data. And the logical thing is to go hire the smartest geologists that you can. But they can't find the gold. So he has an idea. Why don't I set up a contest? He called it the Global Challenge. And he said, I'm going to make the data public to any team in the world that can find 6 million ounces of gold. I will give a $500,000 prize. 400 teams from around the world downloaded the 4 terabytes of data. 125 teams submitted where they thought the gold was, and 3 teams won and split the $500,000. He didn't have to pay each a $500,000. 2 teams from Russia and 1 team from New Zealand, about as far away from Canada as you can be. And those teams collectively found over $2 billion worth of gold for a $500,000 prize, which, by the way, is why the traditional venture capital model is dead in the 21st century. If you look at the total returns of venture capital in the last decade, including the United States, the return has been 0. Because in the venture capital market, you have to bet on 10 companies and you hope one wins. But with a prize, I only have to pay the winner. I don't have to fund any of the losers. And so Peter blank on his name, Hiemandas, with the X Prize Foundation, is now putting prizes up to solve all kinds of big problems around the world, including, it's really what launched Elon Musk into private space travel. So, in summary, first, you've got to pass the 3 ask test, at least in my mind, if I'm going to invest. Number 2, you need to own a critical choke point within your industry so that the big players can't easily come in and crush you once you've proven the business model. And then number 3, I think the companies that are going to win big in the 21st century have realized that they're not smart enough alone to power their business model, that you need to build your business on tapping into the collective brain power of as many people as you can around the world. So, Juan, hopefully those are some useful ideas for the business owners we have here in the audience. Thank you guys very much, and I look forward to the presentations.